Welcome to the Boomer Woman's Podcast. I'm your host, Agnes Knowles. As a Canadian, I'm always interested in a warmer place to spend my winters. Warmer climate and things to do are big factors. But tell me my costs will be reasonable and cheaper than my current outlay, and you have my attention. 10 years ago, I would have laughed if you'd suggested Las Vegas. Not my style, I'd say. 8 years ago, I was given a different concept to chew on when a dear friend's brother married my daughter and son-in-law in the Vegas area, and the kids then had a bit of a honeymoon, completely enjoying their time, never once stepping inside a casino or seeing a show. When today's guest contacted me with the lure of, there are so many great reasons to retire to Las Vegas, or at least have a retirement property there, I was sort of open. Tina Dixon-Smith has been a residential mortgage loan officer for 30 years. Licensed in all 50 states, she's lived in a number of U.S. cities and chooses to call Las Vegas home. She promotes Nevada in general and Las Vegas in particular. She makes some pretty convincing arguments. Listen now. Viva Las Vegas! I'm sure just about all of us have heard of Las Vegas. It's a glittery gambling mecca. Here in Canada, there are bus tours and return flights from so many cities and towns, and you stay at familiar names like the Bellagio, Caesars, Mirage. It's nonstop fun. The snobs among us, and yes, I'm one, say we might go, but only for the shows. We wouldn't gamble. And the shows, my heartthrob Elvis Presley comes to mind, but I date myself. As a modern Canadian, our very own Celine Dion was a headliner for a long time, Shania Twain, Drake, and of course the jaw-dropping Cirque du Soleil. I had never considered another side to Las Vegas until 8 years ago, when my daughter realized her international wedding was not going to be possible. As the ever irreverent mother, I suggested she go to Vegas and get married by an Elvis impersonator, and then we could have a second family ceremony in Spain later in the year. I was bragging about my brilliant idea to a very dear friend in California who I speak with weekly, when she met my idea with a kind silence and then responded, "My brother lives in Las Vegas and he is licensed to perform marriages." And the rest, as they say, is history. Jeff performed the marriage at a beautiful spot in the desert he knew. His husband witnessed, and the kids had a lovely, beautiful honeymoon, never once setting foot in a casino or seeing a show. My guest today has lived in a number of U.S. cities and chooses to call Las Vegas home. She promotes Nevada in general and Las Vegas in particular. When she contacted me about coming on podcasts, I had to explain my international audience might not want or be able to move permanently. And her response had some statistics, some realities, some assurances, and I was sold. As a boomer who's looking for other options to my cold Canadian winter, I'm excited. Tina Dixon-Smith, welcome to the Boomer Woman's Podcast.
Thank you so much, Agnes. It is a thrill to be here with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to this conversation, that's for sure. Let's start at the beginning, Tina. You're a 30-year residential mortgage loan officer who has chosen Las Vegas. What's the allure for you?
Well, I work out of New York City and I lived there for many years. And where I work, I'm licensed in all 50 states. So I see the contrast of the cost of living in different areas. And Las Vegas is the most affordable place I have ever lived. And it's beautiful, it's fun, it's really friendly, and no state income tax, which is amazing. And it's, you might pay $1 more a gallon for gas, but the real estate taxes, the homeowner's insurance is much lower than pretty much everywhere else. It's really affordable because if you look in the Northeast or even in Florida, your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance, it's another mortgage payment.
Well, I live on an island in Canada, so gas prices can't shock me. They probably please me anywhere else I could go. Okay, there's obvious questions. Rules about non-nationals buying in Las Vegas. And perhaps I should ask you here that we are discussing Las Vegas, but is it Nevada wide?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Nevada.
So how about non-nationals buying in Vegas then?
So non nationals can buy in the States pretty much anywhere. And you can buy it as an investment property if you want to rent it out, or you can use it as a second home. And the great thing about Nevada is there is a cap on the increase of property taxes, which is 8% a year. So it doesn't just go to whatever they need. And that is really appealing to anyone who wants to buy an investment property. And people can also buy and stay. They can get a visitor's visa, which is valid for 10 years, and they can stay 6 months a year. And I do know a lot of Canadians who do that.
Hmm. Now, locally, we have, like in BC, many communities have a tax on properties that are left uninhabited for more than 6 months of the year. Is there anything like that?
I have not heard of that, no.
Okay. It's a relatively recent thing just because the housing issue is such a problem in so many centers. Now, the property tax, real estate property tax, 8%. Now, does that mean year over year or
Yes,
okay?
yes. And it doesn't always go to 8%, but that is the cap. Some years it's a couple percent, some years it might be 9%, but it's capped at 8. So it is year over year, yes.
Okay. Everybody knows I come with notes, but I'm just thinking too. I know my son moved to Florida because of the no tax thing or the low tax, whatever it is. Are there a lot of states that do that, or
There are about 10 states that do not have a state income tax
okay,
and 40 that do.
yeah, okay. One place that a lot of people think, or one subject a lot of people think of, is when they are moving to another country, for example, is an expat community. Now, you and I speak the same language, so I mean that's a huge thing. But are there little conclaves of whether it's Canadians or English or I don't know other country people?
Yeah, there are a lot of Asians, Indians, Canadians that are have either relocated, they got a job there and they moved there, or they have second homes there. So it is a real melting pot of people. And the best thing is that a lot of these people who live in Las Vegas, they're not from there. So they bond very quickly because they want to make friends, they want to meet people, and people really fall in love with the friendships, and your new friends, your new neighbors become like family.
I asked that because I used to think that expat communities were sort of a cop out. So, like, if Canadians are going to Mexico, for example, if they can find another group of Canadians or a group of US residents or something like that, then they don't have to really get out there and speak the language and stuff like that. But,
Right.
when you and I speak the same language, we bump into each other at the grocery store, or we live next door to each other, whatever, we can still talk, but sometimes we can be snobs. And so I just thought I'd ask.
I love that.
Now, what do you know about this 10-year visa? Because I've never heard of that. A 10-year visa, and people, is it just for boomers, just for or seniors rather?
I believe it's just for seniors, and all the Canadians I know who are here 6 months a year are boomers.
That makes so much sense because I have a couple of friends who, we look at what our options are. I've got a Canadian friend who now lives in the Dominican Republic. And when you've got healthcare and all that stuff, and I mean, we Canadians, some of us get old and we slip on the ice, and that costs us and the system so much money, that sort of thing. So to be able to go somewhere nicer just seems to make so much sense. And I don't know why our government doesn't get on board with this and really, work with other nationals, other governments to make it easier for us. But a 10-year visa, that's great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and you can stay 6 months. You could come for 3 months, go home for 3 months, come back for 3 months, or just stay 6 months in a row.
Yeah. I know our income tax system, you can only be out of the country for up to 6 months before it starts affecting your income tax. I don't know what the details are, but I just know a few friends who watch the
Yeah.
clock on that one. So,
Yes, you don't want 6 months in a day because then you have to pay tax. You don't want that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, taxes are a whole other matter, both in your country and mine. Now, I know a lot of Canadians who spend winters in either Florida or probably like the Palm Springs area of California.
Yeah.
Why should they consider Las Vegas?
Because it's really fun. I have a lot of clients in Florida who are retired, and they all tell me the same thing. We live the same day over and over again. And who wants that? I don't want to do exactly what I did yesterday. And some will tell me that they once in a while will play golf. That changes it up a little, but it doesn't make a big difference. But there's so much to do, so many people who want to go out with you for meals, go to the movies, go to shows, go shopping. I know a lot of people in different communities who go on cruises together. And how fun is that? That you already know a group and you're sharing that experience. It's a big deal. And people come over to your home. They will call you, "Are you home? I'm dropping off a cake, cookies, barbecue." They just are so friendly and so giving. And even the drivers are very, very courteous.
It's interesting you say that. I work with frail elderly, and I've just helped a couple move across country. And in sorting through photographs, there was a number of photographs where they said, "Oh, yeah, well, we met those people when we were down south for the winter, and we keep in touch every year, and this and that and the next thing." So it really does add a new dimension to your life when you start going to somewhere where you don't live that is fun, and you can get out and meet people and do things together. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. You know what some people do also is they have their home wherever Las Vegas, Henderson, which is right there too. And then they'll buy a condo hotel on the strip and they'll use it whenever they want during the week, weekends, whenever. And when they're not using it, it's in the rental pool. And it basically doesn't cost much at all anyway. And then you have that income to offset the costs. So when you're using it, it's really not costing you any money.
So would you buy full shares then? Because I used to live in a sort of resort town, and I know one of the places there was selling like a quarter interest in one of the units.
Well, let's say someone comes from Canada and wants to stay 6 months. They can stay 6 months. They do not have to rent out. There's no obligation in some of the buildings where you can just use it as much as you want or as little as you want. You have really that flexibility, and it is, like the common charges are like 500 a month. The taxes are hundreds, not a lot. And the prices, they start at like 275, so it's not even really expensive. And it's an income producing property. So it's either all yours or you can switch it up and put it in the rental pool or just use it yourself all the time.
Hmm.
And then you have access to all the fun. It's like living to me in New York City. It's New York City in the desert. You have shows, restaurants, shopping. You can people watch. There's so much to do. There's swimming pools. It's just really fun. And Madame Tussauds and the fountains at the Bellagio. There's so much to see and do. It's not like Florida where boating, fishing, that can be fun, but if that's not your thing, or if you don't golf, then you're probably not enjoying life to the fullest.
Well, I can see too that the attraction or another attraction for boomers would be they've also given their kids a destination. So during the summer when the family is taking their holidays, around school breaks and stuff like that, they can head down to my place in Vegas because I don't want it in the summer. I'm happy up here in the summer. And so, yeah, you're killing a lot of, or what's it? You're hitting a lot of birds with stones or whatever that saying is.
I love that. That is so true. And why do people go to Las Vegas? Weddings, honeymoons, conventions, shows, sporting events, concerts. There are so many reasons that people want to go there. Vacations. And it's a year round thing. People go, even though there are 4 seasons, the winter is pretty short, but it gets cold, but it doesn't really snow. Or if it does, it's like a half a day and very rarely. So you're not having to shovel snow and things like that. So it is a great destination for friends and family. And then you have that great international airport.
I'm glad you mentioned snow and things like that because one of my questions is the reason that we go south for the winter is to escape the cold. And I was going to ask you, what is the weather like between, say, October and April? So you have a very short winter by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so October and November are very pleasant, very, very nice. And December is also nice. We had flowers blooming up through December 31st. And then you had a couple of freezes overnight, but the sun is out during the day. So when the sun is out, even though it's chilly, it doesn't feel as chilly as it does when it's overcast. But you have a lot of sunny days in Las Vegas.
I hear that from our prairie folk like Alberta, Saskatchewan people who I'm on the coast, on the West Coast, and they come out here and they just hate the long, dreary winter because it rains a lot here. And that's exactly what they talk about is, it may be cold and we may have 6 feet of snow, but the sun's shining. So they could head down to Vegas and
Mhm.
have 3 inches of snow as opposed to 6 feet and still have their sunny days, which sounds pretty attractive.
It is. And also, my sister visited us in July, and she's from Florida. And it was 9 o'clock in the morning. And I asked her, "What do you think the temperature is?" And she said, 75. I said, "It's 95." And she was shocked because it was dry. It felt good. 115 is hot. You want to be in the shade. But even at 95, some days it just feels really pleasant
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm
there.
not a, yeah, that, see, that is what I find attractive because I'm not a heat person. So when I say I would be avoiding Vegas in the summer, I would expect it to be super, super hot. Now, you talk about all the fun things that are sort of within the city, but I mentioned the fact that, when my daughter got married, it was out in the desert. It was a beautiful area. There's ways to get out into nature too.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of day trips that you could take. You can go to the Grand Canyon, you can go to Hoover Dam, you can go hiking. There are a lot of parks around. There are so many things to do. You can go to Lake Las Vegas and you can rent a little boat and go out on the water. And being on the water has such a serene feeling, that is really attractive. And Lake Mead has that too. So there are a lot of things that you can do out in nature. Like there's even, have you heard of the Seven Magic Mountains?
No.
So this is an art installation in the middle of the desert, and the parking is just like a gravel area, no real specific parking, but you can just park in there. And they're 35 feet high. There's seven of them, and they're boulders, and they're all in that vibrant color. It's so it's almost meditative, and it just feels really good to be out in nature and to have this incredible art installation right there. And it's on Las Vegas Boulevard, but pretty far south, maybe about maybe 12, 13 miles or so south of Mandalay Bay. But that is also, if you just want to go and meditate a little bit, be outside, that's a great place to do it. And you could go hiking in Red Rock, and there's many places to go.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think I saw a picture when I was mooching around trying to learn more about you. I think I saw some of the big boulders, colored boulders, in one of your pictures. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd forgotten
Yeah.
about that till you mentioned it.
It is unusual. I've never seen anything like that.
That's great. I'm going to change the subject just slightly. You mentioned that the mayor stated Las Vegas is not a sanctuary city. We put safety first. What is a sanctuary city?
That allows illegal aliens to come in and get money from the government and get housing. And it's like New York has changed a lot. They let people in, they don't arrest them for stealing. And it's a problem. You have squatters, and in some states that's allowed, but it's not allowed
Okay. I can
in
see as
Nevada.
for an older person, that would be reassuring too.
Yeah, because if you live there or if you visit there, you want to feel safe.
Mhm.
And these people are not, the illegal aliens are not screened. And there was a boat recently that came into Florida, and it was full of men with guns and drugs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Reminds me of another story, but we won't go there. Don't want to get my son in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Um, okay.
Oh, they didn't let them in. Florida is not a sanctuary state.
Yeah. That might beg the next question. For someone coming in for up to just for only up to 6 months, put it that way, so not full time, would you recommend a condo or a gated community, or is a single family dwelling safe being empty for 6 or more months of the year?
I think really that it depends on the person and what they enjoy. A condo, you can just lock the door and go. You don't have to really do anything. You don't have to have the plants watered and, things like that. But so a condo can be a really good option if you're part time. But in Florida, there are a lot of Canadians that own homes. So it must work out fine. They just have a handyman or someone just keep an eye on the house. So I would say rely on your intuition, go see different properties, and you will have that feeling of, yes, this is it, or no, this isn't it.
Okay. Now, with your experience, with what you do, would it make sense, or is it possible to say I'm going to be down there from, I can't count really quickly, but October to March or something like that, to do a short-term rental for other parts of the year? Like, are there companies that
Yes,
help with that?
if there is an HOA, you need to find out what the homeowners association will allow, because some will only allow you to rent it once during a year, some will let you rent it part time, and some will require it to be a year lease. So you need to know what that HOA requires. But there aren't all there you have HOAs and you have non-HOAs. There are plenty of houses that aren't in an association, but you can have gated or not gated. If it's gated, there is an HOA.
Okay. Yeah.
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 And with a condo, that's obviously an HOA, and you need to find out what are their rules.
Okay. This is great. I'm learning a lot. Okay. So Canadians are coming down, but there's a couple of diehard Canadians who still like to fit a little bit of skiing in from time to time. Do they have to go far from Vegas to do that?
Not really, because you have Salt Lake City nearby, and a lot of my clients who live there, they're skiing every day in Salt Lake City. It's not that far, and then you also it's a short flight over to Colorado, a really short flight, and you can go skiing there.
Okay. I'm not one of those
But
people. I
it's
just,
not a drive. It's not a drive. Salt Lake City, you can drive,
okay.
but Colorado, you'll probably fly.
As I say, that's not me. I'm quite happy not to have the snow, and I do some snowshoeing, but skiing is no, it's not there. I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I apologize in advance. Dollars and cents. Can you give me a ballpark about a mid-budget two-bedroom unit in, let's say, a gated community? Just ballpark. I realize
There,
that.
I would say it depends on where you are, which neighborhood you are. The further you are from the strip, the less it'll be. Like Cadence is a new community. They do have older homes there, but they are also really expanding. And those homes are pretty affordable. I would say less than 500, and with everything that you want, probably a two-car garage, maybe a swimming pool. Yeah, that's nice. And there are a lot of parks and things like that. But even like a three, I know someone who's selling a three bed, three bath right on the Las Vegas Henderson border, which is, right there. And they're selling it for 585. Three bed, three full bath, pretty backyard, two-car garage, and it's only like a few years old.
Holy moly. That's, yeah, that's easily half the price of anything in my community. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, if you buy $1 million property, your real estate taxes are 6,400 a year. And that is really, really low. And the house that we lived in, which we sold last July, our property taxes were 300 a month, and our homeowner's insurance $30 a month. And someone asked me, "Did you live in a trailer?" I said, "No, it was a $544,000 home with a big backyard. It was beautiful, gated community, and it was only 2 years old. Just really affordable. So even if the price of the property is more than someone wants to spend, you're going to save on taxes and insurance. That will offset it in a big way. But you can also buy a condo, one bedroom condo, not teeny tiny, for like 250.
That's crazy. So I'm thinking another option, for someone who doesn't want to even put in like the 500,000 is find a friend, go into something
Yeah.
together.
Absolutely. That way you have company, you can pull your resources, and it makes it fun because I don't believe we're here to live alone. And especially as we age, it's nice to have someone there, and a lot of the homes have two primary bedrooms.
Yeah.
or a primary bedroom and then next generation bedroom, little kitchen, and little living room, and probably their own entrance.
Mm.
So there are a lot of options. You can have a casita, and the casita is separate from the home. It's either in the front yard or the backyard, and it can be your office, it can be the guest house, or it could be an in-law suite.
So you could either stagger your visits or
Yeah,
in any one of those scenarios, just take turns who gets the primary bedroom with the beautiful ensuite, that sort of thing, like just take back
right.
and forth. So,
Yeah.
you're making this sound more and more attractive. Now, a little while ago, you mentioned the strip. It
Yeah.
sounds fun, but I don't want to live there. You talked about like this thing close to Henderson. There's must be a number of spots in Vegas that are totally removed from the buzz of the strip.
Absolutely. It is really, I mean, the strip is known, but what's not known is everything around it. And there are so many different communities, and a lot of them are communities, not just neighborhoods. People really get to know each other, and it is not a transaction. It is an experience to live there because you will just meet so many people, and people are not just friendly on the strip. People are present wherever you are. If you're buying shoes, you'll have a conversation with the person, or you're at a restaurant. They're not rushing off. They don't jump in while you're talking to each other. They'll pause and let you have a little break so that they can tell you the specials.
I'm thinking as you're talking that you need to send this episode to your local chamber of commerce because you'd be on the payroll. Ah, dear. That's great. You mentioned some other terms that I didn't understand and I wanted to ask you about. What is the power of awareness?
So the power of awareness is just to let's sit and let's look around. Let's look at how much are we paying in taxes, income tax, sales tax, property taxes. How much are we actually paying? How much are we paying for insurance? Being aware of it, because you just pay your insurance every year, it just renews, you pay it. You don't always look at it, and you don't always even know what your deductible is. And for me personally, I always take a high deductible on my insurance, and because I'm in real estate, I have that awareness, and I take a high deductible because I see when people do make an insurance claim, you might get canceled, or your premium will go up. So I take a deductible of 2,500 to 5,000, and if something small happens, I'll just pay it. I'm not making a claim, and you don't even call them and ask the insurance company about what happened, because that is a claim. Once you tell them,
Okay.
you can still get canceled. Even if you don't make a claim, it's still considered a claim. Your insurance will go up or it will get canceled. So being aware of, rather than just being in the program, renewing, paying the bills, having income tax come out of your paycheck. A lot of people don't even look at their pay stub to see, what am I paying in federal? What am I paying in state? What am I paying in local tax? So just looking at that and making a comparison is a big deal.
We're in a season right now here where we've just filed our income tax, property taxes are due, all that sort of stuff. And let me tell you, everybody here is very aware because everybody looks and then they cry. So,
I get it.
oh dear. Okay, you had another term and it's Fil-A-Seat. What is that?
So Fil-A-Seat, you can join. It's less than $200 a year, and you can get tickets to pretty much any show, and they're free. And it goes on for a year. And some people go night after night after night to different shows because it just really pays for itself many times over. That little bit that you pay buys you a lot of free seats. It could be sporting events, it could be a concert, it could be really any kind of show on the strip.
That's crazy because even, I mean, the exchange rate right now is ridiculous between Canada and the US. But,
Yes.
even looking at your $200 would be 200 and say 60 or $70 here. For Christmas, I gave my teenage grandson well, two tickets. He and I went together to Cirque du Soleil here, and I paid more than that just for the one show for two of us. So $200, 200 and even $300 Canadian is a steal of a deal. That's amazing.
And it gives you more things to talk about in retirement. You want to have things to discuss. You don't want to talk about the past. I used to do this, I used to do that. I went to this show. I loved this show. I went to this concert. It's it's so important to get yourself out there and do new things so you have new things to talk about and you have that new energy and you're also inspiring other people.
As you said that, one of the subjects that I discuss with a lot of people who talk about retirement is by this age, a lot of people identify themselves by their job. So I am a doctor, I am a healthcare worker, but when you switch it up into a totally new environment that has inside, outside, everything, like all sorts of fun things to do and experiences to have, suddenly you become more of the person in the moment that you, I'm sure, almost forget that past career and you have a whole new identity. Well, I should say you have a whole identity.
That is such a valid explanation. I love it because that is so true. And people will, I mean, life, your experiences really triple themselves.
Yeah. Okay, you had said something, but I think that we've been talking about it the whole time. You say people save money living in Las Vegas. That's just everything we've been talking about by the sounds of it.
Yes. Well, I do have a client. He was a first time home buyer and he bought a home for 1,800,000 in the Hamptons. And so he's putting down 20%, $360,000. And he asked me, what would be my closing costs? And I did the calculation and it was close to $100,000. And so in Las Vegas, if you bought 1,800,000, you would save well over $80,000 because there isn't mortgage tax, mansion tax, peconic tax. You save on all that, and the real estate taxes in Las Vegas are reasonable compared to pretty much everywhere in the country. And the insurance.
It's interesting, you talk about closing costs and things like that. Those are the things that people don't think about necessarily until they're signing on the bottom line and they realize that it isn't actually the bottom line. It's like, oh yeah, we've got all these other expenses now that we have to come up with
Yeah,
the cash for.
$100,000 was a lot for him because that was another 21% of what he was already putting down that he had to come up with. He had to liquidate his investments, not all of them, but liquidate more investments than he anticipated.
All right. As I say, you need to go to the Chamber of Commerce. Um, is there anything I haven't asked you that you want boomers to know?
Well, there is a lot to do with your grandchildren. When they come visit you, Disneyland is a 4-hour drive. So you could go for the day, you could go for the weekend, you could go for a couple nights or a week. And it's something that the grandkids will have as a memory forever. And you will too. So that is really close. And when people want to go to the beach, they go to Carlsbad and or somewhere along the coast, Santa Monica. They'll go there, and it's an event. It's not just I'm driving to the beach 20 minutes away. I'm going for the weekend, and you spend the whole time there. A lot of people do that, and a lot of the neighbors go together, and that's really fun. And also, a lot of East Coasters in America have family in California. So if you're in Las Vegas, you'll be a lot closer to your family members. Some have kids, some have parents, siblings, and that changes things up too. And another thing is, we are so attached to whatever is familiar. Even if you're suffering, it's familiar. A lot of people will stay there. Even if something else is a great option, you get stuck in the familiar. So it's great when you can let go of that and fall in love with doing something different. Fall in love with decluttering. Like, what is clutter? Clutter is things that don't have any value to you anymore, so you can get rid of them. But if you've lived in the same place for a long time, then you can let go of it. You can donate it. You can sell it on marketplace. You can throw it away if it's old and not useful. But just doing that clears energy, and it really makes you feel fresh and ready. So there are a lot of benefits to not living in the past and going to the future, and buying furniture rather than bring your old furniture and your 20-year-old bed. Let it go and buy new furniture for your new home that actually fits the new home. And Las Vegas has really great furniture stores. It is so fun to shop and just see what they have. So I would definitely recommend that. Indoor furniture, outdoor furniture. It's just another experience.
Well, for all those listeners who are thinking this sounds really attractive, I'm going to say they should contact you, but I'm going to say if they need to talk about downsizing, decluttering, all that stuff, I am currently living a nightmare with a client. And yeah, they can talk to me about that and I'll tell them what it's all about. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is I wanted all the listeners to go get out a map, go to Google Maps or whatever, because I didn't realize. I mean, Disneyland in 4 hours, I'd take myself there. So,
Exactly. I know it's another thing, and a lot of people haven't been there. And another thing is, when you're on the East Coast, you don't go to Hawaii, you go to Florida, because Florida is the East Coast Hawaii. Surf, sand, sun, palm trees, flowers. It's beautiful. But if you're living in Las Vegas, you can get a direct flight right from Las Vegas to quite a few islands there, and they even call Las Vegas the ninth island because so many Hawaiians live there.
oh, is that actually? I'm glad you said that. Because my friend in California who told me about her brother, her parents are from Hawaii and they live in Vegas. There we go. Proof
Oh,
positive. Okay, you
love it.
you are so enamored. You wrote a book. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, so I want to let people know I did see a lot of headlines last year that baby boomers were going homeless. And I want to show up for the baby boomers and the Gen Xers as they're getting closer to retirement, to let them know, do not give all your money away your money, your income, your investments to insurance companies and to the federal government, the local government, and hang on to it because the money you save, you can go on cruises, you can go to Florida for a couple months in maybe January, February, something like that. And it just gives you so many more options, but people aren't necessarily aware of how much they're paying out that they don't need to. They can really spend it on themselves because no state income tax is a big thing. That saves you a lot.
I like what you said about not going broke or, being homeless about with the expenses because you hear about people who bought their house 40, 50 years ago, but now it's worth exponentially more, but the taxes are also exponentially more. So a house that was perfectly affordable, even though you paid your mortgage off, all that sort of stuff, now it's all that other stuff that makes it unaffordable to live in the house you've lived in for the last decades.
Yeah, and when you move, you have a whole new energy and it just feels good. Move to a brand new house and have that experience and live in a different climate, have different experiences, meet new people. And I love the idea of going in with a friend or a family member to buy a property together so that you do have that company. And I do think you will shock everyone when you say you're moving to Las Vegas, and at the same time, you will be inspiring them. It matters.
Okay, I gave you a great segue and you didn't take it. What's the name of your book?
Oh, my book is The Golden Move: Why Las Vegas is the Best Decision for Your Retirement.
And I was doing my digging. It even caught the eye of Chicken Soup's Jack Canfield.
Yes, he loves my book because he does go to Las Vegas a lot and he lives in Santa Barbara, so it's close. He loves to go. He said he learned a lot about different restaurants he didn't know about, different shopping. He said he loves to shop. And yeah, he loves my book.
That's quite the
He's
endorsement.
one of my favorite people.
I can see why. Okay, you said before we started, before I clicked record, you said you have a website coming, but you're
Yes,
on social as well.
yes.
So
The Golden Move 111.
that's okay on social. Okay, and then the book is, I'm looking at Amazon here. The book is available on Amazon.
Yes, and it's also available on online at Barnes and Noble.
Oh, okay, perfect. So if someone does want to contact you, they've listened to our conversation here and they're going, I need to get the ball rolling. Do they get hold of you through Amazon for now?
Well, in the book is my email address and my phone number. My email address is goldenmove111 at gmail.com.
Perfect.
So if they email me, I will get it pretty instantly.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't want to ask, but you've said it, so that's great. May I ask you a personal question before we close?
Yes.
In your profile, it says every day is a 10 out of 10. That's impressive. What tell us about your life or something. I don't know. What makes it a 10 out of 10?
Oh, well, thank you so much. Agnes, I made a decision when I was a teenager that I was going to live a very interesting life. I just decided that. And it made it easy for me to make decisions because is it interesting or is it the same? And I went with interesting because I really wanted an interesting life. And my parents gave me the blueprint for that because they were interesting people. And my dad was a home builder, and my mom was involved with the Home Builders Association. She was on the board. and they built homes. We moved. They had opened houses for new communities. It was just a great childhood. So I wanted to continue it into adulthood. So I do not live the same day over and over again.
Well, I guess if you're choosing interesting today and interesting tomorrow and interesting the next day, and here you are in Las Vegas, I guess that says it all.
It does.
Okay, you don't have to go into any more detail. Okay, your link is in the show notes, and all the links are on your page at our website. And as soon as your website is up and running, send me the link and I'll make sure we get it into everywhere we can.
Oh, thank you so much. You are brilliant.
Well, I know some people that would disagree, but we won't go there. Fellow boomers, Tina made a pretty good case for Las Vegas. If you have thoughts on today's show, share them with us. Leave comments where you're listening, or if you're listening at the Boomer Woman's podcast at boomwithabang.com, scroll to the bottom of the page and talk to us there. Or what question about Las Vegas did I not ask Tina? Ask it in the comments and I'll get you an answer. Leave stars and reviews. They make the algorithm gods happy. And share this episode. I know it sounds like you'll meet lots of great like-minded folk if you make Las Vegas a home or a destination. I bet your besties would love to be a part of that. Tina Dixon-Smith, thank you for being my guest today and being so convincing about Las Vegas. It was an eye-opener.
You're amazing, Agnes.
Thank you. Have a great rest of week.
Thank you. Same to you.